Well, hello and welcome to Hello Chaos, the unfiltered podcast for founders in the messy middle. No fairy tales here, just the real grind, the grit, and chaos of what it takes to build a business. Today we have on the show Chris Hallberg. He is the founder and president of GoExpand and the founder and CEO of Business Sergeant. And he's also, a high achiever, but he's an EOS implementer as well. Welcome to the show, Chris. I appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me on, Jennifer. It's my pleasure.
I know. Okay, now let's get into what got you into entrepreneurship. And I mean, GoExpand sounds like it's one of the last companies you started, but how did you get inspired to one, become an EOS implementer? What inspired you to start Business Sergeant? And then what inspired you to then start GoExpand?
Wow, let's go way back. So I spent the majority of my school experience in the hallway or the principal's office.
Shame.
Yeah, so like I had a lot to say. They didn't have a name for it back then, right? Now they have like a syndrome and a medication and a treatment protocol. Before it was just like, you out of here.
Yeah.
So like I was always a talker, a people person, loved to help people. And still to this day, I'm like 53 years old and I have the energy of a 21-year-old. Like
Right.
I don't need to be caffeinated. I'm naturally caffeinated. So like after school, Boy Scouts, after the Boy Scouts, the Army National Guard, after the Army National Guard, entrepreneurs organizations, right? Becoming a salesperson after the military in civilian law enforcement, and then becoming a sales manager, and then becoming a sales executive, and then ultimately a business owner several times over, with some chaos involved there, of course. It's never clean. It's always a little messy, right? And then it
Right.
filters out and becomes something, or it doesn't, right? Then you go back and you reiterate until it's right. So like just having the ability, like I think about this teacher took me aside, said, Chris, no one's ever in this world going to pay you just to talk all day. So I just need you to stop talking.
You're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about? So now I spend, the majority of my days coaching leadership teams using the entrepreneurial operating system. I've done that for almost 12 years, and it's a powerful platform.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonderful experience. The GoExpand software is an EOS license, fully agentic AI-powered platform to run EOS or another business operating system.
And we're going to break that down because that was a mouthful right there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. And then the Business Sergeant community is kind of my passion project. And I just partnered and got an integrator or a president to run my community and recruiting arm.
That's
and what Business Sergeant does is it takes military veterans, any military vet from any branch in the United States is free to join. We have an online academy, coursework, a community, personal health, wellness, all that kind of stuff. And the idea is to fill in those crevices with some civilian stuff and really get the essentials of that military ethos, the leadership, the accountability, the discipline, the on-time, on-target performance that we're known for. A lot of special operations veteran. My partner is a Green Beret of 20 plus years, been out about a year. And it's pretty awesome to take these heroes and, give them a little bit of civilian business training. And
it's basically getting them transitioned back into society, and like, how do you fit into corporate world?
Yeah, it's different because the level of commitment at an average company is not like it is on an A team for a special forces soldier or an infantry officer or anyone in the military doing anything. So like the big thing is we have kind of three groups of soldiers, right? Soldiers, airmen, Marines, Guardians, Coast Guard, and airmen, I guess, if I got them all there. And still wanting to get some skills. So when they're out, they're hitting the ground running. They're clear on what they want to do, where their skills can be appreciated, utilized, and leveraged. Then folks that are actively transitioning or, just got out within the last few months or the last year. And then the third group is folks like myself. I got out in 1999, just to date myself. So we were completely like 3 uniforms ago.
I'm still trying to navigate life.
Yeah. So those are the three groups of veterans that we assist, and then we give them the training, work on the mental wellness, the health, the well-being, the business skills. Like, yeah, you can't do that at all. You'll be in HR or that's not going to fly. But this right here, this version of what you used to do, nuanced this way, they love it. They absolutely love this. And then ultimately, as the community grows, we're going to do events. So imagine having a business sergeant come to the company for a day or half day and put you through some leadership crucibles and all that.
Yeah.
And then we'll have events, which are fly-in events where we'll go do epic stuff for a whole weekend, like life-changing. Like you get to be basically, a special operator for a weekend kind of a thing. So all this stuff goes back into the community to give our vets what they need. And all this is paid for by the businesses who replace them. So it's just like a operational and leadership wizard for the same price as a typical candidate. So it's a tremendous value. So we have companies that are in the VIP line and they pay a retainer and they get first crack at everybody. And then we just have regular contingent searches that goes. If people really want to get themselves a business sergeant or 3, as I like to say, they can do that, or we can just interface with people like a regular recruiting company with a little bit more of a mission than just placing folks.
Yeah. No. So what came first? I mean, did business sergeant come first and then you did EOS, or how did you get involved in EOS? Like, what was that?
That's okay. Let's do that story, because that's a great story. So to answer your question directly, served in a bunch of uniforms and went to a bunch of leadership schools and kind of became that military leader. Then I joined the civilian business world in 1999, and nobody told me I couldn't do sergeant stuff to my sales team, right? Or to my ops team. So I just kind of did that. And my vibe is, I like very fun, very open. At the same time, we get things done. And the mission comes first and the team comes before any one of us. So I kind of carry that mentality and people that...
You're like the Bill Murray, captain.
Yeah. They're from Stripes or whatever. Boom, shakalaka, boom. That is such a great...
That was your energy, right?
Army training, sir. Right. Yeah. So love that. That's like when I was a kid watching that, like I'm definitely joining the Army. This is so cool. So
that was the recruitment video.
So I kind of brought that vibe into the civilian, business world and had a fair amount of success with that mentality. So then after selling my energy efficient remodeling business, time to go do new things, had a non-compete, time to, so I was in Minneapolis, St. Paul, where I lived the majority of my life. And then I did a joint venture with a manufacturer out in Cleveland for a little bit. Then ultimately I came to Denver. Always wanted to live in Denver. Snow, but not permanent full-time snow with freeze your face off, like 40 below stuff that we get many. So in the process of coaching entrepreneurs, a gentleman that worked for me years ago as one of my sales managers started a roofing company out here in Denver. And within 2 years of operation, it was over like $8.5 million in sales, which is amazing, but without any process or workflows, friends and family, like bunch of Range Rovers in the driveway.
He's
and
just crushing it, just in chaos.
Yeah, but also owing the supply house, $500,000 behind, right? So like understanding the economics. So I got the call that's like, hey, I need your help because things are like, I might be in like a special kind of trouble I can't talk myself out of. So would you come help me? So, for about a year, I helped untangle things and really leaned into that. And in the process of that, an old business partner of mine, Andy from Minneapolis, was going through an EOS implementation with a prominent implementer in Minneapolis. And he said, hey, I know you're out there helping our mutual friend out. You should really look at this tool set because I've done a lot of this stuff. And EOS, this is working. This is working in a way that I don't even know why it's working. It's just working. So, of course, I looked into it because he's a dear friend. And when someone shakes you and says, hey, I think this would help you.
Yeah.
So I talked to EOS folks, back in 2013, showed up to EOS boot camp in February of 2014. And I think it was like implementer number 60, 65 or something like that. And now we have like 1,000 all over the world. I was the first implementer in Colorado, and now we have over 40. Wow. And so Traction or EOS has got lots of that. And it's just a beautiful process. And our community is, every 90 days we come back to learn. So that's kind of then EOS for over a decade, and then being approached by a software partner saying, hey, we'd really like to get into EOS, but we'll need your help getting the language pure, making sure that everything's good, and be the community manager. So I'm just like the visionary, the brand advocate. And, obviously I changed quite a bit of the front end for my specifications. So it's my apps. I'm the responsible party, but I'm not a software guy, but I have a technology team that white labels powerful platforms for people like me and allow me to have a software company without all the complexity. So they're my partners, and they're very good at software and onboarding folks and keeping them happy and uptime and all the stuff I know nothing of. They're experts at. So what a wonderful partnership that is.
Yeah.
And then business sergeant thing, that was a self-branding thing when things started to get crowded in the EOS marketplace. Like, okay, so you're one of 800, 500 implementers, 400 implementers. How do you brand yourself? Like a real estate agent or, someone who's in a large field?
Because you're basically a solopreneur with like a licensed franchise for this bigger brand. But you're right. You go from now I'm one of.
Yeah. So if I was kind of known as the military guy who works with big companies, that's how people would describe me as an implementer. And that's probably a pretty good description because I go upstream. I have publicly traded companies. I work with 10, 20, $30 million a year companies, but I also work with, 100, 400, $1 billion a year firms. Some of these are publicly traded, large concerns, and EOS wasn't built for those big companies, but big companies want to turn like a speedboat, not a cruise ship. So that EOS is a great way to get large organizations to get real simple, get real clear, so people can get rid of the complexity, because it's hard to scale complexity. Simplicity scales easily, or much easier, I should say. Why am I doing three things? Well, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a visionary. Like, I deliver the coaching, I show up and do EOS, but I have a guide to follow, right? I'm not making this up. I'm following the process. I'm using my, hundreds, almost 1,000 full day sessions of experience to draw on. So every day follows that kind of same agenda, but the conversations are wildly different inside of that package, inside that format. So, the software is adjacent. It helps my clients execute and stay accountable, and it removes a lot of the subjectivity that lives in all this kind of coaching, right? And replaces it with objectivity, which is, again, scalable. And then, Michael runs my business sergeant community. My software company runs the GoExpand brand, and I'm just responsible pretty much for me, my assistant, and myself. So it's kind of neat when you partner with the right people. My impact can be much greater than just a single solo.
Because you're not in the weeds. You're kind of working, like you said, your brand, the visionary, kind of moving all of those triangulation of businesses, kind of, they all related and connected.
They're cousins for sure. 100%. Yep.
So, okay. So GoExpand, you said that is it's a licensed software that's inside of EOS, right? Is that how?
Yeah, a good way to describe that is EOS is EOS. It doesn't need any software. It started out with no software allowed, and then, the world happened, right? And clients demanded it. So, things changed.
Tools. Yeah.
And EOS attempted a couple of times to do their own software, and they realized that they're a training and coaching company. So they divested all the software last year, or earlier this year, I should say. So now there are 5 tools currently, and I think a 6th is just entered the market.
Ooh.
So Ford or Chevy, whatever you like, all these platforms, have fans and detractors, and it's like anything else in the market. I've got a little different spin on it. My app is all the business operating system tools and 5 or 6 people tools and an AI agent that we can ask that we're not disturbing people. We get an answer in 15 seconds. So what I did is combined the operating system tools with common people tools. But my best teams were all using the same 5 or 6 apps. But Jennifer, they are only using 20 or 30% of each of those disparate apps. So what did I do? I took a melon baller and just carved out the popular parts and included it in one login. So now we have this platform that everything is visualized. Every scorecard has a trend or a shape, a team dashboard. It has a green box that is gamified. Level 1, real big. Anyone can.
So like the L10 meetings become much more interesting.
Yeah, the meetings are all recorded, and if you take a to-do, it listens and it summarizes key points, high points, takeaways, next step. If it heard Jennifer or Chris say, I'll do this by next week, GoExpand automatically takes that to-do and puts it on your dashboard. You don't have to stop the meeting, and everyone just pauses for 15, 20 seconds as you tappity-tap your to-do, and it's all waiting for you at the end of the meeting, and every meeting is infinitely searchable, so no stealing anybody's ideas, because if you want to learn about something, you put it in the search, and Every instance of that discussion will pop right up for you.
So that's what we've been working on, because we're a Microsoft Office, which I don't know, like all of our companies that we work with are Microsoft companies. So we felt like we needed to be one too. But we're looking at Copilot for that same reason. But what you are describing is much more magical.
Well, I mean, it's like, kind of the attention economy too. If you think about it, it's not just expensive to have 8 apps. It's a lot of logins. It's a lot of wear and tear. That's a lot of shuffling.
Well, and it's
navigation.
The integration of it and the alignment of and I deal with a lot of like small businesses that are not any different than we are, that we look at like what is with the AI tool, like we have disintegrated or fragmented tools. How do we integrate them better together? Or do you buy something that is already has the integration built in? I mean, I think there's a lot of us out there that are kind of in that the world right now. Trying to navigate that.
It's think of it this way, Jennifer. GoExpand is the tip of the spear. It's the dashboard everyone's in. So inside of that, you've got the plan, you've got the execution, you've got the meetings, you've got the task management, you got the project management. Like we have an integration with Trello. So if you go to GoExpand, you see this, Trello board or whatever, and when you mess around with GoExpand, it back and forth to Trello. If you're in Trello, whatever you did there, you go to GoExpand, it's right there. So it's just like integration, single sign-on with Microsoft, single sign-on with Google, based on the AWS platform. So medical grade transcription through Amazon is just a really high quality way to have your meetings. Speaker 1, speaker 2, it obfuscates it for discovery. So I mean, it's everything about it is smart and modern. It's the tip of the spear. So if you have a financial software, whatever that is, we just have an API and that ports your data right into the dashboards. If you have this tool, we'll port that in. So it's a place that gets a lot of use, and we communicate. We have high five. So we have reward and recognition. We have pulse surveys. We have unlimited personality assessments because those things are expensive. That's why people don't use them for pre-hire. Every one of my companies are using unlimited. So before you even interview someone, you have to make sure they have the right wiring of your most successful people in there. So the dashboard stuff, the agentic AI agent. So the way that works is if you want to learn about the reimbursement policy, because you just got back from conference and used your own MasterCard a few times, I suppose you could call HR, you could probably call finance, you could call your manager, or you could call all those people, right? And then 3 or 4 days, you may or may not get an answer, but it might be, well, what state are they in? Is this ADP? Is this Paychex? Why not just have them query the inside of GoExpand, and there's the one pager, eligible, how to submit approval and what that looks like. So without disturbing another soul at the business versus the 4 or 5 people in the days to get back, it's 15 seconds. I have the answer. I follow the process. I get what I want. And that's like giving people another day of the week at scale. So most people's days are knock, knock, knock. Hey, I got a dumb question. Knock, knock, knock. I know I'm supposed to read my emails, but I don't. So I'm going to ask you what was in last week's email. Like that's the kind of stuff that happens throughout the day. So if we can eliminate that and everyone's kind of public with their results, like at least to the people above you, right? Probably you can set the viewing permissions to everyone sees it or certain people see it, whatever your culture supports. But the point is, if you don't get your to-do done in EOS, you promise 90% of those have to get done for you to be a good teammate. 80% of your rocks or strategic initiatives, projects, priorities need to be done, or you're not doing that right either. So, believe it or not every manager in the ecosystem notices that or does anything about that. So GoExpand, if you break your promise, we have promise to-dos. So if the promise to-dos check comes, they're always promised out of a meeting. But if Jennifer needs to pick up her dry cleaning, we'll uncheck that. That way, if you don't get to the task, GoExpand won't call you out on it and lower your performance. Or if you don't get your rocks done, lower. If you don't live your core values or your review isn't good or you're not aligned with your teammates, it goes down. So we have an x-axis of performance, 0 to 200%. Oh, by the way, there are people at your company that are 146% of the herd, and you better know that, and they better be compensated a commensurate amount, or they're a flight risk. We don't want to have holes in the fence and let unicorns just kind of trot right out.
Right.
So you put all of these different things together, And now it's like, okay, this is the stuff that's important to us. And whatever software we need for whatever we do as a business, all of our meetings, we can embed those right into the meetings. So we have the timers, the agendas, it's all programmable, but we're not having to tippy tap dance up on the top nav. You build a meeting, you put in what you want, and it's all right there. QR codes to invite people. It's really next level stuff. It's for larger teams. We start at 20 licenses. But if you're a big team and you want to be scrappy and run on the principles of EOS, self-implement through the Self-Implementer Academy, hire an EOS implementer, and it's just the glue that keeps us all together. So like every company decides if they're going to hire an implementer or do it themselves or read the book and do it poorly. And then they get to choose, one of the 5 or 6 platforms that feels right for them. So that's the story around that, and we're having lots of fun. What I've determined is you can't be everything to everybody, right? That's the advice I give my clients, and of course I want everyone to be running on GoExpand. It's awesome, but I'm realizing that not everybody wants to be hyper accountable. Not everybody wants to have all the data. Not everybody wants to be fully engaged in one platform that handles everything. So like, that's okay. But the people that are on GoExpand are really loving the experience and just the, when you have an X and a Y axis and you have the scatter plot, if you say, well, if Jennifer is the right person, then David has to be, based on my Jennifer and David's position. And it's not just, well, Jennifer makes the best cookies in the world.
Right? It becomes more, and it's transparent and the visibility of that. Yeah.
Well, think about the junior manager who didn't send to Harvard to get an MBA. They just said, hey, you come over here. You're the manager. Poof, right? There's that moment where we all get our first leadership job, and it's usually because something happened and hey, like situationally, that's how it happened. So imagine if you're a manager and these 3 things help with alignment and these 4 things help with performance. So even if you're in the red, but you're moving in earnest towards the green, we'll give you a little bit more space, a little bit more grace. But here's the problem. Oh, I'll do better next quarter. Of course you will. Didn't you say that the last 4 quarters and here we are, you're still in the red. So now you can see them move towards the green, or you can see them park, pitch a tent, get comfortable right where they're at, or you can see them regress further into the abyss of red and say, bless your heart, we're going to call it. So if we can just not hang on to the wrong people if we can speed that whole process up a month, 4 or a year, you're only doing your good folks a favor by calling that out and removing that. So they're not doing their job in half or 3/4 of somebody else's. So like the cool kids, your best employees love this. They're like, let's go. The people who are real sweaty, but don't do anything. The people who work hard at working hard, but they don't really make the needle move. They don't like this at all for good reason.
Absolutely. People that don't like being held accountable are usually the weak links on the team.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we roll. And really what it does, it just kind of says, this is what it is. And if you don't like the results, then let's look at the matrix. Did we give you the wrong scorecard expectation? Is this process, do you not have the technology to be efficient? Or we have 8 people to do this role and they're all super green and you're super red. So I'm pretty sure this is on you and I'm going to give you an opportunity to fix it, or I'm going to give you an opportunity to get out of the way to make room from somebody, for another company who could come here and we would be great for them and they would be great for us. And that's really all a business is, in my experience of coaching all these world-class companies. We're just here to create an environment for the right people to thrive. That's it. That's the whole game. And the wrong people are like, I don't like this. Well, everyone else does. I like it. And we're privately held and we can do what we want. So thanks for letting us know that. Good luck in your search. We wish you the best. And I think the best companies, when they make a bad hire and they need to move somebody on, they should fail fast. First 90 days, I coach an 80-day performance review. On the 80th day, the reason I say not the 90th day, because it could be on a weekend and you might lose your probationary period and then you're into unemployment insurance. And like most states have a probationary period, at will states for sure, in most cases, I should say. And I say on that 80th day, knowing what you know now, you've had 80 days to confirm or deny the bias that you had when you selected them across all the other candidates. So the $10 million question is, knowing you know, would you make the same decision today? If the answer isn't, pinch me, I am so happy they're on my team. The answer is no, liberate them, free them to the market until we have somebody that we're just pinching ourselves. And once you do that long enough, all that's left is a bunch of 8s, 9s, and 10s out of 10s. And those companies, print money. I have clients that have won pushing 200 individual best places to work awards. And these are not write a check. These are engagement surveys through like the business journals. They're highly competitive. Hundreds of people apply, a handful win. And, to win or to be a finalist, you got to be in the high 80s, mid 90th in employee engagement. The average business in America is engaged at like 34%.
Yeah.
That's why there's TV shows about The Office, and that stuff's funny, unless you're one of the characters, and then it's a little less funny.
Unless you're Creed in HR.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So what's been the most rewarding part? I mean, you've done a lot, but you've stayed in the same kind of category of business. But what's been the most rewarding?
Oh, helping other people. So I just recently had a couple of founders, Michael and Keith. It was Apex Physics Partners. Now it's like Physics One. They just had an exit. And when I started, I think they had 1 or 2 locations, like under 10 million in revenue, and they just sold. Our job was to roll up a bunch of physicists, let physicists be physicists, and Michael and Keith and their amazing team brought technology and mentorship and business knowledge, and they just let them do what they did, and they took over the business stuff. But they did that, 35, 40 times in 5 or 6 years, and they just exited the whole thing, right, for probably pretty close to $1 billion. So like, now they have this capital, and now they're a fund, and now they're looking for entrepreneurs, right? And Lowwater is the name of their PE firm for anyone seeking capital. You would not find 2 founders better to have invest in your future, because these guys are amazing humans. But my point is like, hey, we want to do this thing, and we know it's going to take 3 to 5 years, and we know it's going to be really hard, but we'd like some structure. We'd like some discipline, some accountability. They had actually worked with another implementer, and met me at the conference and said, "Yeah, we like your vibe. Would you be our implementer?" And 4 or 5 years later, they have this amazing, life-changing, generational type wealth thing for them and all their executives. And like, I'm telling you what, when someone sends you a 30-year-old bottle of scotch with we couldn't have done this without you kind of a thing, like,
that makes you feel,
oh my goodness, you know what I mean? Like, let's be straight, they did all the work. I'm there for 4 or 5 full days a year and some coaching conversations.
You were their best cheerleader.
Yeah, 100%. And here I am cheering for them again. And whatever those 2 touch, right, I like their odds. So that's what's exciting, is taking people that are already pretty amazing business people and just adding that last mile of systems and mindsets, and then watching some operators like that take the operating system, right? I don't get credit for that. Mr. Gino Wickman is the one who created that beautiful process. Anybody doesn't know about EOS, EOSworldwide.com, or the book Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business. Sold like 1 million.
It's a fantastic book.
Yeah, like millions of copies. And like just in the last year and a half, I think it sold over 1 million copies. So like, 15 years after it's published, it's rocking so hard, right? 15-year overnight success.
So who's been your best cheerleader?
Well, I'd have to say at this point, my wife, because I've done all these entrepreneurial things. I left public service, government service, safe, solid, benefits, retirement, to then be on 100% commission. Yeah. So like not having a guaranteed paycheck is scary, but tripling or quadrupling or 10xing your government salary, well, that's possible. With no net beneath you, there is no ceiling above you. If you would like a net beneath you, you should expect a ceiling above you, because that's the counterbalance to safety and opportunity and risk, of course. So like, after a few years of doing well, a little less freaked out about this, but like, you know what I mean? But you're like, all right, let's start a software brand. Let's go ahead and, hire a bunch of people and let's get this veteran community really rocking.
Yeah.
And the neat thing about having some success in the entrepreneurial space is you can be self-funded and don't have to deal with investors and all those phone calls. You can just do what you want to do, succeed or fail on your own merits. And the more people you know, business is a relational business. Like, I have a huge Rolodex of fellow experts that I bring with me on engagements. They bring me in, I bring them in, and this is how we all stay busy is, we all serve the same people.
Work. Yeah.
Yeah, we all want the same thing, which is our clients to be awesome and happy and healthy and, have time for what's important. And that's not business. That's whatever your number one is. And that's what I bring is a couple of years of a fair amount of work, but it's like an 85, 90% success rate for the people that start with me that get what they want in a couple of years. And there's not too many things with that level of certainty. Now, when you feather in, hey, let's hire you a couple of business sergeants for the warehouse. Hey, let's get you some GoExpand to make sure that the technology is watching and pointing out to the managers something's going on so they don't have to be everywhere. And that's how the three things kind of come together. These cousins show up for the reunion and, we haven't seen each other for a while, but, right, it's like it was yesterday.
I love it. So, okay, so you took that leap, and then you also watch and listen to other people taking that leap. What's the biggest misperception or myth of what it's like, of what you think of before you take the leap to then go, I need to debunk some things, or what are some things that you try to debunk? People are like, I'm going to take the leap. Okay, let me give you some reality. What do you say?
Yeah, let me start with no one cares like the owner does. And I think that's a pretty popular statement because it couldn't be more true. So the inverse of that is there's limited amount of F's for your team to give. And just because you give it many F's, it's important to you. You can't assume that many F's transfer to other people. It's like, actually, for every one F you give, it's a 0.35 that other people give. So So that is the sobering thing. Like, I'm passionate about this, is wonderful. Yeah, I got other stuff. Like, my head is not where your head is at right now. So bless your heart. Good luck to you in that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, no, you don't understand. You have this exact problem. I can 100% fix this with like super high confidence, and it'll take this much time and this much money, which is that's all over the floor. When I walked in, I could see that. So like you can spend that money being horrible and miserable, or you can spend that money and never look back at this behavior again. Well, I think we're just going to keep going with what we're going. And my whole point is, like, bless your heart, which is what they say down south when someone has realized that you ain't got it all.
That's right.
That's a nice way.
That's a nice way.
It. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the hard part. No one really cares. And to get people to care, there's an old saying, no one knows how much you know until they know how much you care. I don't know, Zig Ziglar or someone said that years ago. And it's true. At the same time, why should they care? So I think asking, like, having the question, like, ready to go. So you're probably thinking, why should I care about this? Well, no, I wasn't thinking that. They were absolutely thinking that. Yeah. This is the why. So giving people the why, not just the what, I think is, to answer your question, like, directly. No one cares like you do. So you got to make a compelling reason. There it is. What's in it for them? Why it's good.
Always.
Like, here's what you're doing. Here's what you could be doing. What if I told you after a little bit of stuff here, it's going to be cheaper and better?
Right.
Would you be interested in that? Well, kinda, or we're not. I guess, like, it kind of sucks, but maybe it doesn't suck enough for us to do anything about it. Like, okay, great. Call me back when it sucks enough. Like, great. Right. Let me write that down. I found the problem. I found the problem at the company. Like, I've just showed you the problem. You know the problem, but you're really not willing to deal with it. So that would be the root issue. Just like when we say we don't have enough accountability at our company, that's usually not an accountability problem. It's a recruiting problem. It's a hiring problem. It's not having access to people that actually are naturally accountable. Kind of like someone who served a bunch of years in the military who proved beyond a bit. So you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, basically, root causation is what we focus on inside the EOS community, because we could solve the friendly issue over there that's safe for us to talk about. not the unsafe issue that's attached to the founder, a sacred cow, an 800-pound gorilla, some other thing I'm not willing to die on. So we're just going to romance the symptom, and it's going to come back in a week and we're all going to feel good, versus someone stands up and says, listen, love you guys, but we're all dancing around this. There's eggshells all over the floor. This is the issue right here. If we fix this issue, all of the other issues downstream are solved. Are we willing to be brave and speak, name it, trust that we can be vulnerable? But now I'm talking about Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, right?
Yeah.
Then we get into healthy conflict, right? And if we can have healthy conflict, only then can we have commitment. And once we have commitment, accountability comes naturally. And then the results are the top of the pyramid. So everyone wants to start with the accountability. And I say, well, how often do you speak the truth here? Or if someone called you out in a meeting, would you transfer them to the Nome, Alaska field office for doing that on a call? Or would you be like, absolutely, thank you for bringing that up, that, I admit my fault, have some healthy conflict. All right, let's commit to what's good for the team. Then the accountability happens because there's an agreement with commitment. If people aren't committed, they don't care, they're impossible to hold accountable because they're like, what to? Right. So like everyone wants great results, but that trust is the basement. That's the bottom side of the triangle. So we start by saying, well, why don't you admit some of your recent mistakes? Well, I haven't made any recent mistakes. I've seen your P&L, Bob. You're not good at this. You're making lots of mistakes. Not taking accountability. Let me just put that number 1 on the list, and I'll just keep listening. So when someone doesn't know where they're making mistakes, our job as a coach is just to say, hey, I love you, but I do this for a living.
Right.
And the way you're doing this, that's the way it goes. So there's a lot right there, but it all starts with a mindset of all a business is a curation of human beings.
That's right. And I call it imperfect humans leading other imperfect humans.
Oh yeah, we're all perfectly imperfect. I say that too because like that's the first thing is you have to admit that you don't have all the answers, and you have to say I don't know.
The ego has to come down. Yeah.
Yeah. So ego's
it's a killer.
Early on when I was an entrepreneur, and again quadrupled 10x my government salary at one point. It's really hard to tell someone in their 30s, early 30s, late 20s, making a bunch of money, what they're doing isn't right. It's just like I learned more in failure in life and business than I ever did when things were rolling. So this is you know what I mean? It's really hard to tell someone with a bunch of money in the bank that they're doing it wrong. But when someone loses everything, gets humbled, really gets reset, those folks they're in learning mode for a couple of years. Yeah. And I find that is like the best part of you is the recovery from a failure and those lessons. Like that's why priceless. Like after coaching for a decade, like, gosh, I got to get back in the game. Like this coaching thing is fun. I enjoy it. But like I'm watching people do all this stuff. Like that looks like fun. That looks like fun. And now it's just like, the opportunities present themselves. I don't have to show up and execute other than coach, right? And that is like not even work for me. I love it.
Yeah.
It's natural, and I've done so much of it that it doesn't require a lot of preparation. You just get with the people and find out where they're at and be like, we're going to fix this first because that's root.
You've kind of developed your little sweet spot there of, just working on the things that you love.
Well, that's what life's all about, right? Doing, we talk about the EOS life, right? I'm looking at it right here. Don Tinney, the co-founder of EOS and a dear friend of mine, he's like Yoda. When Don talks, everyone stops and the room gets quiet. He doesn't say much. He's soft-spoken, but he always delivers the goal. And it says right here, what is the EOS life, or what is just the ideal entrepreneurial life?
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure you can steal this. It's doing what you love with people you love, making a huge impact, being compensated appropriately, and having time for other passions. So I am living my EOS life as a crazy entrepreneur with a bunch of operators who follow up and go places and do things. And you know what I mean? It's just like all the things I don't like to do as a visionary, or I get to stay in the sweet spot. I'm developing brands. I'm forging media relationships. I'm creating new modules. I'm coming up with new feature ideas. Like that teacher in school,
you can be
she didn't
in
know
that
what she was talking
creator.
about.
That's right. Okay, so here's the big question, because this is the struggle, and I want to hear, how did you overcome this? Because many founders struggle with letting go, of the control, right? How to delegate with intention. What was your aha or the secret sauce that helped you really start delegating effectively and giving that handoff? How did you work through that?
Understanding that we're not all the same. We all have different superpowers. And the Avengers show up because it's like a dozen superheroes, and they're a much better, crime fighting force as a team than any one of the individual superheroes are. So like thinking you can do everything, and as a founder, a scrappy bootstrapped, you are sales, you're marketing, your ops, your finance, your legal, your technology, you're everything. And as you start to scale, understanding the things you're not good at don't give you energy, and the end product isn't very great. Those are the first things you give away. And you stay things that are in your like unique ability, if I'm going to quote strategic coach Dan Sullivan. Like where you're in the sweet spot, you look at the ikagi, the Japanese way of living. You've got the things you're good at, the things you love to do, the things the world wants, and things you can make money at or whatever. And that all those four circles intersect. In the middle is your ikagi. And that is like not work when you're in that. So I've got some things like in the other boxes, but very few. I mean, it's business, it's work. I have more delegating to do as we scale all of these different brands. At the same time, understanding I don't like TPS reports. I don't like financials. You know what I mean? Like pivot tables and employee handbooks make me want to like go to another place quickly. My happy place, not the employee handbook. That is for other folks. So like once you fully understand, take a personality test, take the EOS Visionary Integrator Crystallizer exam. It gives you a score. Like if one of them's over 80 and one of them's under 40, you're that one. Find your puzzle piece to partner with. So Michael Crisella, my president and chief operating officer of the Business Sergeant program, like he's an operations machine. He ran like a bunch of stuff for the regiment and the group, and was a senior chief warrant officer 3, which is like a Jedi Knight in the special forces. And I'm like, hey, Michael, could you figure this out? He's like, yeah, I already got that done. I was kind of thinking this idea. Well, I was thinking the same thing. What about this? I'm like, that's even better than my idea. So I'm just coming up with stuff. And he's like, yeah, I didn't think of that. Let me work on that. Or, yeah, that's probably a little early. And if it was just me unchecked, I would be working on things that are fun for me. But some customer would be like, hey, where's my thing you sent me? Like, I really like the ad you made, but where's the thing? So just understanding, are you an operator? Are you have that operations finance brain, high follow through, low quick start? Now we're talking about Colby's, right? A cognitive assessment. Or are you a low follow through, high quick start person like myself? Well, you're a starter. So we need to start things, but we also need discernment and say, hey, there's 20 ideas. Like your integrator using EOS speak is the person who integrates all the functions of your business. And the integrator actually runs the company. A visionary like me should not run things. They should stand for things. They should create things. They should talk about what they want it to look like. But the personalities that love spreadsheets, TPS reports, and HR meetings, those are the types of people who actually make it go. And they don't have a ton of vision. That's not their gift to the world. They're finishers. They figure it out. They're relentless. They're creative in a different way. So when you have a partner that is your Avengers superhero, Batman and Robin, crime-fighting duo, much more crime than either one of those dudes in tights could ever do on their own, right? So that's the answer, is you can't do it yourself. You have to find your other people to make a super entrepreneur, which is like 4 or 5 people to be a complete person. There are so few entrepreneurs that have all the skills. It's a single digit number. You're a unicorn, and not everybody's like that. So if you're like me, like 50s, well, actually like 70, 80% of entrepreneurs are like me, visionaries. Only 20% are that integrator, that follow-up gene. So what does that mean? that means you better go find an ops person. Like even if it's not an equity partner, it is someone that makes your trains run on time. You own the train tracks. You decide where the tracks go. You decide what kind of trains are going to be on there, where they want, what time they get to the station. And then you step away and let someone else hire and fire all the people and the maintenance and you see where I'm going? The ticketing agents, and they run
they're the grind. They're that what is it?
Conductors.
The gears.
Yeah,
they make the gears go. Yeah.
So that, it takes a while to figure that out, unless you read like a book called Traction, and that's where Gino's like, listen, I've done I've seen it, and once you kind of get this, and visionaries usually come from sales and marketing, they're external. They culture, brand, market, big relationships, capital, face of the company, creative, 20 ideas, right? The integrator, like the person who actually runs the business. And another thing, Jennifer, it's really important to mention, you can't make someone accountable for the P&L, the net profit of the company, if you don't give them the final call on what we're doing. It's impossible, you know what I mean, to say you're accountable, but you're not responsible. Yeah, you're not. So like, that's the thing, is staying in your lane.
Yeah. That's for, to me, whether you're in a startup or in a large company, of, if you've given somebody a role to be accountable for, better empower them with that authority.
Yeah. And that's the neat thing about an operating system like EOS is we create it. And instead of just a blind expectation, we follow that up with an agreement. Mm-hmm. So now it's just like when someone agrees to do something they'll come to you and say, I can't do this. Versus if you just have this uncommunicated expectation that magically never is met and resentment starts to form. Expectations are resentments under construction. So let's just go to the agreement. And once we have an agreement, we have a very low drama environment. Without a opt into this or opt out of this moment, we have complexity. So this is what we think. Yeah. We hope you like it. If we don't, we're going to miss you. And the world has become overly inclusive, and companies should be exclusive. There's a certain type of person that we're looking for that gives this kind of F's in this direction, works this way, has this ethic, has this put my name on it. Not everybody rolling around has that. I would argue the latest generation, like, they took that off the assembly line in public education, apparently, in the last 10 years. So it's harder to find, quite frankly, people that were raised right. And what I tell folks is you can't take a broken human, and fix them. That's not how humans work. Your job is to spot people that have the same likes and dislikes and the work ethic and the skills, and then get out of their way. You know what I mean? Don't micromanage them, give them freedom. And if you surround your team or allow a bunch of people to have their own experience, that's not how you create a world-class team. Like, even if you curate your company to 80%, right people, right seats, 20%, wrong people in the wrong seats is a big enough foothold for everyone to feel pain and suffering, and just knowing we're just this close from being there. But it's like Charlie Brown kicking field goals. I don't think he's ever made one, because when the kick comes, off it goes. So once we get once we get to 90% right people, right seats, that's enough mass and volume for them to clear out the last 10%. And I've seen it time and time again. But if you've got 40% of the people that are actually the right people in the right seats, that's pretty common to start an EOS implementation. These are companies that have been in business for years and even make a bit of money. But that's why there's TV shows about The Office, because crazy stuff goes on there that shouldn't, and someone's allowing that to happen. So in my case, I just need the responsible party to make a decision that we're done with this. And then we're going to fill up the leadership team with other people who feel that way. And then we're just going to cascade that methodology all the way down to the ground. And if you don't like it, good luck in your next adventure. But we're not going to be held hostage. Or, I like to say, is that one a terrorist or an activist? Because I can scale with a bunch of activists, but just a handful of terrorists, if you're familiar with the bad apple effect. You can just Google bad apple effect, and that'll blow your mind that A-teams, wonderful people with just one low performer, will go down to their level in an instant before anyone will rise up.
Yeah, because what was the study? It was Because I think the methodology or what people thought of, well, if I have 2 or 3 high achievers and put, I'll call them like the A team, and you put B and C players next to them, the thought was those B and C will rise up to the A team. And what they found, I think, through that bad apple study, is actually dropped the high achievers and created the high to be soured. And they exited the company faster. Yeah, it was like they exited the company faster than, and then the B's and C's were like, okay, we're coasting, we're complacent. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's quite a study. It's conclusive, and I concur. Like an A player is more likely to become a B player in the presence of B, C, and D, F employees than, hey, D player, go learn from the A player. Well, first off, the A player is going to be offended. You've saddled them with the D player, and the D player is going to be like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you're a D player.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. So, like, having said that, if we have leadership team and the management team is committed to being great, that needs to be, we're going to go through some pain and suffering for a little bit, and then we're getting the other side of this. And that juice is definitely worth the squeeze, because that's what I do for companies, help them, coach them. A lot of it's just a little, hey, I've done this a bunch of time. We're not losing 40%. We're going to lose 18%, and no one's going to miss that 18%. And many times when we exit the wrong people in the wrong seats, we don't even refill. We don't even rehire the spot, because it turns out if everyone could just do their job without having to rework Steve's stuff, they actually can get 32% more when Steve's not here. So like big teams of C players are expensive and frustrating. Small teams of A players can run circles around teams of A players, and it's a lot of fun and it's a lot more profitable. So like people say, whoa, this coaching is expensive. This software is expensive. These recruiting fees are expensive. Listen, you're paying for it one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? It takes just as much time to come to an office for 8 to 10 hours and be awesome as it does to come to an office and be miserable for 8 to 10 hours a day. Meaning the time you take away from your loved ones to go do this thing, that time away from them and the sacrifice you make for them is equal. But the results could be 10x or x if you do it right. So that's why I always tell my people, like, who's your number one and why are you here? What are we fighting for? What's important to you? What impact are you trying to have for your family and the world and this team? And it's like, I don't know. I'm just here to make money. I'm just here, 5 o'clock, the whistle sounds and you see the parking lot just empty, right? That is like one culture versus the team that mulls around and hangs out and maybe has a drink after work, or, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like,
that's what's like agency life of, early career. That's how agencies were made, right? They were, it was work life, but it was also your social life. And then as you kind of climb, I went to an agency that was a culture shock for me, because that agency was not that way. It was everyone was out at 5 o'clock. It was, you were almost shamed for staying past 5. And
so like, it was a weird mentality, and it comes from the top. It's supported by the middle, and it's adopted by the team.
Everybody else,
but not everybody wants to be awesome, and that's okay too. There's got to be a place for mediocre folks. The good news is, like, the average
there are companies out there.
Well, most of them, even ones that make a little bit of money, have these things, and it's not impossible to fix. In fact, with an 85-90% success rate, there's pain everywhere. You can just choose to have it now or later or what form. But I assure you, even if the medicine doesn't taste awesome, if you take it, you will be better.
It's just, you're going to get it some way or another. And we always say, like, and you probably see this too, mediocrity is really hard to hide in a smaller company. It exists, but it's more of that culture of like, do the pain, get them out. I mean, that's something I've had to learn of. Hire slow, fire fast. I need to implement like an 80-day, like, boom. But it was because the pain's there. Whether you stall that out in 6 months or whatever, but it's, I'd rather have painful of let's make sure we have the right person in the right seat versus hiring faster.
Well, you just said it. You just said it right there. Right person, shares your core values, right seats, and EOS parlance, gets once and has the capacity. So just think about that for a second. And I'll come back to this point, but I want to go back to something you just said, like the mediocrity. It's easy to spot. Well, interestingly enough, some teams have a high performer. And what do they do to the high performer? They give critical tasks and the things the other people can't do. So how you get rewarded in America for being like decent at your job is just more work for the same amount of pay. And that's just wrong, but you see it happening. My point is, when I see that, is that person really a unicorn or the rest of these donkeys? You understand what I'm saying? Right. Like the person that seems like a superstar. Are they just really the right person in the right seat? The rest aren't. And you're using the bell curve like in an inverted sense, perhaps. So like my point is, like when we have people that the right people in the right seats, 90% of the company looks like that, you're good to go. You've got a world-class company that's 90+% engaged and you're printing money. There's a waiting list to work there and everyone loves the place, right? And then the second, there's four of these sets, right? The second set is the right person in the wrong seat. Hey, do you know how to do this? Not really. You're the best I got. Get in there. And then a year later, we wonder why they're not like super successful, right? That's usually that. As long as they're the right person on the bus, we can find them another seat. Third combination, wrong person, right seat. This is the brilliant jerk. They're profitable, they're productive, but they're kind of a douche canoe. They come into the break room and everyone just scatters because no one's got time for another HR complaint or someone who's professionally offended, oxygen thief, energy vampire, which is the last one, which is the wrong person in the wrong seat. They're super easy to spot. But everywhere I go, I still find them in corners of companies.
It's like it is the bad apple of that emitting that toxic fumes that just rots the fruit around them.
Yeah, that's the energy vampire or the oxygen thief. And the oxygen thief is like, hey, you should apologize to that plant in the corner that's working so hard to produce the oxygen that you're stealing from it. We can't have any energy vampires or oxygen thieves, but if you don't have a very, very clear bar for values, these are our core values. And if you don't share them to the bar of acceptability, it's just a wash. Not even if you're good at your job. Most people, when they're starting a company and they're trying to make payroll, will put up with a bad actor for their production. The problem is these are the same people. I can't scale. I can't just get to the next level. Yeah, you've got a cancer in your body and you're asking for more of that, versus if you went to the doctor and they found something, even a little suspect, what's your response? Can you take it out now? I'll clear my afternoon. That's not how surgery works, Mr. Hallberg. But you understand what I'm saying? So if you knew you had a malignant person in your organization and you really could see the damage they would do, like they got pictures of you in Tijuana. What's going on here? Like, is there what's happening? I asked that question jokingly because it gets that response, but it gets you thinking, you know what? I guess I don't understand why I accept this. Well, it's really hard for everyone else to believe these other words that you're telling us when that's the example that's front and center. So like one of these things is not like the other. So the neat thing about an operating system is we create the matrix and then we say buy 100% into this or buy 100% out of it. And when you have the three Venn diagrams, hell yeah, hell no, and hell with flames, that's in the middle, right? And your job is to be hell yeah or hell no.
Right.
Think about your life, your personal life and all that stuff. The stuff in the middle, that sucks your energy. You're not in, you're not out, you're just kind of there. You have relationships like that. There's people in your life like that. There's jobs you've had that are like that. And I find when I can be the polar guy and get you, are we going to hell yes this or we're going to hell no this? Well, all right, I guess we're going to sit in hell. And when you let people know that they're clearly not in either way, let's put it in the middle. The key is to take everything in the middle circle and make it go to those two outside circles. And when you do that, that's when things get really sweet for everybody.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a good wrap.
Yeah, that hell yeah, hell no, and hell thing, that's been out there for a while. I think
I think it's
a Steve Chandler thing, but I think it's been done before him. All this business stuff has been recycled for the last 150 years, pretty much. Yeah,
just keeps being repetitive from the basics of Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it's like Dale Carnegie and Good to Great. It's like you see those same, and John Maxwell, I think, just keeps getting.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 authors.
And Steve, Lencioni, yeah.
Pat Lencioni.
Patrick, not Steve. So, okay, if you had to sum up your journey in one word, what is the word?
Chaos, like controlled chaos. Let me preface the chaos with controlled chaos.
I love it.
And the more you do it, the more control, the more you learn. And the neat thing about the coaching thing is it helps you be a better player when you coach other people. It just does. And having spent a decade, it
makes you have to reflect back onto yourself to go, yeah. Like
I wish I would have knew 20 years ago what I know now. Like we all say that, but that's not how knowledge or excellence is achieved. Like it's the ugly part. Back to what I was saying, when I crashed
when you hit the wall, when you hit bottom, you learn a lot to climb back up.
You got to be humble. So like one of our core values at EOS Worldwide is humbly confident. I'm going to give myself a plus minus, which is the middle grade on that one right away, right? Like you got to be confident, but you also have to be humble. Like I've definitely made all these mistakes that I coach my folks not to make 3, 4, 5, 22 times just to be sure. So like the most important thing is that no one has this all figured out. I've got some stuff that's got a great track record, but you got to do it. You got to commit to it, and you got to be willing to get over that hump. And it's so sweet on the other side when you do, but it appears to be more daunting than it is. So a lot of people don't really take the journey because they think it's impossible, or they couldn't do it, or they couldn't figure it out. The good news is
fear. I mean, it's just, that whole fear thing of it's too much. I'm not sure I can go dig deep. I mean, I think there's that psychological of fear kind of.
Yeah, now we need to talk about like Tony Robbins, right? The mental game, and not kidding. If 80% of our thoughts throughout the day are negative thoughts, like
then it eats that. You got to be careful of what you say.
Thank you. What you think. Right, your thoughts become your words become your actions, your actions become your being, your being becomes your legacy, or however that goes.
Right.
So like I find myself, oh, that sucks. Ooh, like this doesn't suck enough. Like back to like the army, like embrace the suck was a thing they would tell you, because when you're in a foxhole, it's 52 degrees, it's raining, you don't have the right equipment, and you're going to be there for a while. I did this for college money. Like I should have thought about student loans. What was I thinking? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I think like we're all forged, in a different fire. We're all products of our environment, but surrounding yourself with people that are a little further down the trail and have a bunch of breadcrumbs. Get a mentor, join a peer group, use an operating system, get a software tool that forces everyone to look at it. Then you have to decide you're going to be a weenie and not say something, but everyone else sees it that you're not saying things. And maybe that's the peer pressure we need to keep things classy. So I find that if folks are allowed to fail in silence, they will do so. Mm-hmm. If you have to fail publicly, that's an uncomfortable thing. Usually people make a decision, I am not going to fail, and they fix it. Or they're like, I don't want to do this publicly. Goodbye. And to me, we want to create a safe, emotional safe space for people, but in a format that we all agree upon. Not this unlimited, you just do you, and that's okay if you lose us $1 million. Did you have fun doing it? Oh, good for you. That kind of like, you don't have anything, right? You don't stand for anything. You have to stand for something, and your culture should be hyper exclusive to 90% of the world. That's why it's your culture. If our culture is like everybody else's, then
to me that's branding. Like then then you don't have a brand.
Hi, I'm a commodity. So we're just going to start the conversation with price because I have nothing to add.
I have nothing else to offer. And I love that, like, I always tell my kids that, you have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything.
I love that. I'm going to steal that. I've heard that before, but that's a good one because it's so on point.
Yeah. Have your values. We've heard that from other founders of like you got to have your break evens. Like you need to know where your deal breakers are when especially if you're doing big sales and partnerships and all that. It's like define what that is so you know who's that puzzle piece.
Yeah, well, every company needs a safety word, right? When we Yep.
That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah. So real quick, I had a team that did an annual retreat down in Mexico, and it was a year before I worked with them. So I just got the story. I didn't get to like experience this. And they went on a cruise for their annual retreat.
How nice.
Well, it was one of those cruise that had norovirus and all the food. So this was like, I don't think it was the official poop cruise, but it was like one of the famous one, but I don't think it was that one. But anyways, it was just everyone got sick, and they think it was a ceviche, and the whole team was down for like 36 hours. They weren't able to like even like go to
do
port.
Their retreat.
No, so we talked about this story. I said ceviche should be the safety word for this business because everyone come back to like what that felt like for 3 days. Like, do you ever want to have ceviche from the Lido deck ever again? No. So like when you find something that resonates, there's your safety word. So you're going to go do a partnership with someone who doesn't treat you right, or they're, pay you correctly, or they treat your people wrong. Ceviche is what this team was saying. That is a hell no, looking at the three circles there. So I think language is another thing. I coach all my teams to have your own language. What do we call that? Let's brand that. What's our version of weird? If someone comes in and says, why do we do this thing? It's like, that's just our version of weird. Well, I don't get it. Okay, that's okay. It's okay if you don't get it. We all super get it. And I appreciate that you don't get it. Like, what's the timeline for you two to get it? You're never going to get it? All right, that's it.
Right.
We need to make room for someone who naturally gets it, is suffering at another brand, would thrive at ours. So hanging on to the wrong people is one of the big mistakes that people make. One of the top 3 for sure. So like, fail fast. Have a safety word, have an ADD review, fail fast. If we fail fast, we can be successful much faster as well. Like admiring issues, worshiping problems, tiptoeing on eggshells. These are all the things that just prolong whatever pain you're in. Like, are you one hair at a time when you take off a Band-Aid, or you just grab that sucker and give it a yank? Like, you have to ask yourself, how are you curating your team? One hair at a time, or is it time just to make a decision that we're going to be great? And a majority of your company is going to be happy you made that decision. In fact, they're probably wondering why you're not doing that. So if anyone's experiencing turnover, unicorns are biting through the fence. Even if they got a bowl full of Skittles, they're just leaving.
That's right.
People don't quit bad companies. They quit crappy bosses.
Yeah. Was it 90%? Yeah.
So
they want to go, they get recruited and want to go work for the company, but they leave because of the direct boss. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like a truffle pig for bad bosses. Every team deserves to have a great sergeant. My sergeant terminology are the mid managers, not on the leadership team, but the people that really make things go. They're the ones that are really hiring, firing, rewarding, and recognizing. So as the business sergeant and a former military sergeant, I coach the officers, the leadership team, the brass, the big dogs. And I always want to get my hands on the sergeants because I generally coach upmarket, large teams, and it's harder to cascade when you have 500 employees, 1,000, 1,500 employees. So we have to do it in tiers, in groups. And once I connect that management team, and many times we'll have a leadership team, and then the managers are glorified privates. So I find this a lot. So a big pro tip here for the listeners is to make sure to empower your middle managers, your sergeants. Quite frankly, the quality of them determines everything because they spend more time with the troops than the officers do. And we quit shitty sergeants, excuse me. We do. But a great sergeant will retain those unicorns and keep them happy, and we'll advocate for them, and we'll make everything copacetic. So like that management team and that leadership team, plugging those two together is a big part of the work that I do. And it's transformational. Oftentimes at the beginning of an engagement, I'll say, okay, great. We've got a huge change, big news. We're going to tell the company something. What's the process? Well, we'll just shoot it out an email. Like, are you going to let the managers know first? No, why would we do that?
Oh, I know.
That's maybe like because their troops will be with them and they'll look and say, well, what do you think about this? And they'll say, well, I just heard about this too. And they'll say, well, I thought you were like my leader. It's very disrespectful. So we need to
You don't have the inside scoop? Nope. I heard about it at the same time you did. We're like, no. Yeah.
I just have a lower number than you is all I hear when somebody says something like that. And that doesn't feel good.
No. Yeah. All right. So looking ahead to the next chapter in your journey, what's that word?
Enablement, taking
Ooh.
everything that I've learned and plugging people in and getting out of their way. And that's what I'm doing right now with all these partnerships. I'm a kid in a candy store.
You are
And
having a good time. You're in a
yeah,
good
totally.
spot.
Yeah, I'm in a great spot. Family's good, life is good, business is good.
I love it. So
Just blessed.
what will we be celebrating a year from now? I come up to Colorado, we go have some champagne or whatever. What are we celebrating? What's the win?
Improving 20 companies' lives, like wildly. Like everyone, I see people at the grocery store that I don't even know, but they kind of know me. And I've had some, hey, I know who you are. You're the EOS guy that did, like, yeah, well, who are you? Oh, sir. So like, we're like, hey, I just want to tell you, like, this, I was going to quit before we did this. Like that is like a game changer when someone reaches out. People also reach out to me and say, you got me fired. I hate you. But sometimes those same people send me an email saying, hey, you know what? Scratch that
It
last
wasn't
email.
a right place. Yeah.
No, you are right. I'm actually with my people and I'm super happy. So I would say that we had an impact. And now that the business sergeant community is actively scaling, my aim would be to help some people transition, help some people that have been out for a while find their spot with a friendly company who appreciates them, doesn't look at them as like put them behind glass, more like let's put them out front and learn from them.
Right.
And then ultimately, if we could go to veteran suicides a day to a much smaller number, that would be
good.
Be my compassionate plea to the world, is to engage with these people. And there are so many resources and techniques and stuff that's happening right now, but the science says that we're not doing enough. But if we can help people be gainfully employed and challenged and part of a team, when people leave the military, like my point, like your point, 5 o'clock whistle, everyone leaves. That would be the opposite of the military. People come in way early, they stay way late. It is a lifestyle.
They've been a part of a team structure and organized that way. To take them out of that mindset it's a process, and it's sometimes like a shock to them. We work with the Upstate Warrior Solutions and worked with another organization that was building more mental wellness, mindfulness around the veteran community of helping them how to transition better into society. So we saw the stats, and there's so much pros of getting them in your organization.
Yeah, there's
so
really
I love
not
what you're
a lot
doing.
There's really not a lot of cons. The pros outweigh the cons probably 5 to 1.
Yeah.
And who do you want rubbing off on your people? Someone who's literally proven to be 1 in 1,000 humans, like in the toughest environments for years. Like, I'm not overselling this. The right person in the right seat can transform anything. The wrong person in the wrong seat will never figure it out.
It's rotting fruit.
Yeah, it's rotting fruit.
It's rotting fruit. The environment, it just like corrupts the entire environment. It's funny. I don't know like when I came in, I'm the same age as you. When I entered, corporate America and agency world, and I worked in a lot of my clients were B2B, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of industrial, still is that we work with still a lot of that sector. When I started my own company, but it's interesting. A lot of those companies, it's like their pipeline was the military, like manufacturing, Six Sigma. It was easy for the operational excellence. And I don't hear that as much from more of the last like manufacturers over the last like 5 to 10 years. It's like they've lost that, or maybe they didn't know that. But companies from 50, that are 50 years old, 100 years old, that's how they grew. But the military was their pipeline for their workforce. So I don't know if there's any studies of, is it just because it's not known? You would think that that's like a common sense thing.
Well, we need more people talking about it. Again, like these things come in waves, and that's exactly what we're trying to do at Business Sergeant. And our community is 100% free to the vets. Like, we're never want to charge them for anything. We're just there to help first and provide them. So they already have, in some cases, millions of dollars worth of training. Like a special operator, like individually has well over $1 million. And that's just a regular Army person has probably $250,000 to $500,000 in leadership training, like experience. Like it is a
problem solving.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of problems and you got to solve them. And it's creative. But when you put somebody in a room that has a resume like that, it commands instant respect. So if you want a new warehouse manager to get everybody on time, showing up early, well, you could be late, but then you're going to go have to talk to this person. And there's not people think military people are yelling, and that's initial training. That's basic training. Like a team sergeant on a special forces unit is someone's been in for 15, 20 years. They have been everywhere. They have seen all these good and bad leaders come and go. Like, yeah, whatever they said, go talk to the chief. In this case, Michael, he'll tell you what's really going on. Like the commander comes up and says, "We're going to go do this," and then everybody's like, "All right, what are we really doing?" Right? Like I jest, right? Because there's like there's like the vision of what we want to do, and then there's actually how we're going to do that. And that's why connecting your sergeants to the officers, and what I recommend is a monthly meeting for about an hour and a half with the senior leaders and the junior leaders, and we just sync up. My point is, if we're going to give information to the troops, even if it's an hour earlier or a day earlier, that is the minimum amount of respect you need to show people. And the last thing I'll say about the whole sergeant enablement thing is you got to give them the hire, fire, reward, and recognize. You can't hold them accountable to execute if, like, no, I don't think you should fire Jeff. Nope, Mary's not getting fired.
Right.
Listen, it's my team. I only have 6 people in this unit, and 3 of them are no good. I need to get the 3 because I have 6, and once all 6 are rocking, then I'm able to make the money I want to make. I'm able to do that. No, we're not going to let you do that. That is a good sergeant who is going to jump the fence, and they're going to go sergeant somewhere else, and shame on you for letting that happen. So like any good officer, and I have some officer friends, in fact, a fellow implementer is my neighbor, Hark, a full bird colonel. And, he was like a post commander, was like the mayor of a city. And, we had conversations about NCOs. It's like, man, if you got good non-commissioned officers, sergeants, your life is so easy as an officer. If you don't have good sergeants, man, it is like chasing your tail. So like, the really good officers get it, and the really poor officers don't care. You know what I mean? It's really that simple. So that same ethos goes in the civilian business world. So the easiest way to inject some accountability, low drama, on time, on target, figure it out, don't whine, level up, be a badass. The best way to bring that in is to insert them into your organization strategically. Now, we know we talked about the bad apple effect, but we're not talking about veterans. Veterans are particularly fixated and stubborn. So if you hire them and say, your job is this is going to be a while, this is going to be painful for you, but if you continue to just drip, 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 that drop of water every day for a year, I think they'll get there. I don't want you to drill sergeant. I want you to set the example. I want you to show them, not tell them. In just a very short period of time, they'll all come, at least the ones that want to be great, will be great quick. The don't want to be great people, that person's going to be, I can't do it with them. And then when they want to remove someone, you have to support them regardless of what you think. You're not empowering people if it's your call, not their call. They're a lead worker. They're not really a manager, and you're really putting them in a tough position when you don't actually empower them.
That's the worst thing.
Critical.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Chris, this is a fantastic conversation. We could go on. But we'll have to do maybe a part 2.
You asked in 6 months or a year what happened. Why don't we write those notes down and
absolutely
see how I did?
I want to see. Come back on that. But before we go, how do you want people to get a hold of you, learn more about what you're doing, support, especially Business Sergeant? Where do they go?
Well, Business Sergeant's web address is bizsgt.com, or you can just type in Business Sergeant and it'll pull up. You can connect with me and Michael on LinkedIn. You can find me, my EOS page at eosworldwide.com/Chris Hallberg. And then GoExpand.com is Chris at GoExpand.com. If you want to talk software, you can hit me there. So you can hit me however, and I'll respond, or my team will respond. If anyone needs some leadership team coaching, some CEO stuff one-on-one, just reach out to me, however, LinkedIn, and we can talk about that. I also can make references, referrals to other people in your part of the world. My capacity is limited. I have a virtual session room here, and I have teams that I coach virtually, but for folks that want an in-person experience, and I'm traveling very little for business on purpose after traveling very much for business for a lot of years. This is another thing,
You're
right?
Like, I'm setting your schedule. You're in control.
Yeah, so I love to connect people. Like, I literally have an army of experts that I haul around with me everywhere I go, and they bring me in and I bring them in. And so if anyone just has a big problem they can't solve, happy to have a conversation and point you in the right direction. I'm here to help.
Perfect. I love it, Chris. Thank you so much. And that's a wrap on today's chaos. But the journey doesn't stop here. If you found yourself nodding along, laughing, or shouting out, "Oh, Chris, shout it again," yelling same, make sure to subscribe, share, or leave that 5-star review on Spotify. You can also dig deeper into founder resources and tools, more episodes over at Orange Whip, that is orangewip.com. So until next time, stay curious and stay scrappy. And remember, we are all a WIP, a work in progress. See you again next week.